Hello and welcome everybody, it's me Hashraf here and I'm coming at you with a production tips video. So I thought I'd make a video basically showing my top 5 tips that I wish I'd known over the years, because it would have just would have made everything a lot quicker. But I guess on some level I had to kind of go through this myself and work it all out. So anyway, let's jump straight into it. Number 1, use project templates. Even if you're just starting out, try and become aware of your common practices and in turn optimize your workflow around them. Now, what do I mean by that? So if you're always using a drum bus group, which contains at least 5 channels, why not save yourself the time of creating that bus each time you start a new project? Just save a template with a few buses already pre-made so you can jump in and start being creative. If you have a particular plugin or set of plugins that you use on every channel like I do, why not save yourself the time of going into every channel and creating it each time? Just save the template with all of them pre-done. It's all there for you. Tip number 2, save your instrument presets, channel strip settings, instrument, audio, send effects. Basically just save your channel strip settings. So maybe it's a bit more of a personal thing to me, but generally I don't have the patience to spend too long sound engineering when trying to write music. But ultimately, when you're doing electronic music like I am, you will spend time doing engineering at some point, which is fine. Just remember to always save your sounds, so save your patches. I'm historically very bad at doing this, and I find myself having to go back into old projects to find the sources of all my good sounds. It would have been far easier at the time if I just saved the plugin patches, or even better, save the channel strips so it's got all the additional effects on it as well. Tip number 3, learn your DAW shortcuts. I can't stress enough how much time you save by just knowing how to do things quickly, like copying and pasting sections of music, copying and pasting channel strip settings, making quick cuts and doing quick renders. This sort of stuff might not sound like a big deal, but the quicker you're able to do the stuff that feels like work, then the less it's gonna feel like work, and you can retain more energy to focus on the fun stuff, creative stuff. So there's always new stuff to learn. For example, I only just learned in Logic that you can do track stacks, which are so useful. So I'm just gonna demonstrate it now. You have a group of channels here, and if you just right click and create track stack and select summing stack, suddenly you've got your bus, your group bus, your auxiliary channel, and it's all grouped in one channel. Now, not only is this great for organizing my project and being able to see where everything is at a glance, but what I particularly love about this is that you can quickly make arrangements to your track without having to cut all of the individual elements in each channel. So if you collapse your stack, you can just cut the whole channel. You can do that for all of your track stacks, and then you can just separate out. So here's my verse, here's my chorus, here's my bridge, if you're doing it in a typical song style. Tip number 4, don't be afraid to use samples. Now, again, it might just be a personal preference for me, but unless I have a very specific melody in mind or rough idea in my head, I find it very difficult to start a track if I have nothing to work with. Therefore, I'll browse for samples in order to just get the creative juices flowing. I usually spend some time going through and chucking ones in that I like, or the ones I feel match the vibe of the day or what I'm trying to go for. If you don't like the idea of using samples in your tunes and want to keep the track completely original, that's absolutely fine. You can still use them at the beginning stages to generate your ideas. Then once you've built your tune around them, then you can just remove them afterwards. When you're just starting a new tune and you have a blank canvas, it can often be quite daunting, with an infinite amount of possibilities. Think of using samples as a means to an end, like a vehicle to guide your track in a particular direction. Once you have that direction, you can then make your own sounds on top of them, or even just straight up replace the samples with your own sounds, or just don't replace them. I don't generally have an issue with using samples if I feel like I've used them in a creative way and generated something original as a result. Remember, sample packs are made to be used in tracks, so I wouldn't feel guilty about using them. tip number 5. And this is probably the main tip, and it's going to kind of encompass everything else. And that is, don't overthink things. Now, this is a mantra of a wise man by the name of Kenny Beats, and I cannot stress the importance of this. Overthinking my tracks has been one of the banes of my production career thus far. Problem ensues as a result of working on a track for too long, I think, to the point where you just don't know how it really sounds anymore. Have you ever heard a track that you thought was pretty trash, but then after the 5th or 6th time hearing it, you find yourself singing along to it? It's a similar sort of thing that happens when you're making a track. By hearing it so many times, you basically kind of convince yourself it sounds good when it might not. And then when you become aware of this psychological phenomenon, well, it just makes things even more confusing, because you start questioning yourself. You're questioning whether you truly think it is good, which becomes quite the conundrum. So what's the solution? Well, it's a tricky one, but I think one thing I've definitely learned is to generally not spend too long on a track. Recognize if your sessions are going on for too long, and if they are, just switch to another project. The less time you spend on a track, the less likely you are to run into creative blocks, which from my experience happen when you start to get tired of a project. So how do you spend less time on a track, you might ask? Well, I would suggest using all of the tips I've talked about before in this video, in combination with a throwaway, take it or leave it type attitude. Don't waste time trying to make an element work if it's getting too fiddly. Just try something new. Load a new patch on the synth, try a different instrument, look for a new sample. The point is, don't get too bogged down and attached to making a particular thing work if you can't get it to work quickly. Be ruthless. If you're not sure about a particular idea, just get rid of it and find something else that fits better. The more bogged down you get in an idea, the less likely it will be that you'll ever finish the track. Take it from me, this is one of my biggest struggles with making music. This is why on most Sundays I set myself a challenge of making a tune in 3 hours. I find it's a great exercise for learning detachment when making music. So in conclusion, don't overthink. Just try and act on instinct. Get the tune finished, stay motivated while you do it. If you can keep up your own energy and not be too precious, you won't run into the same problems I've had for years. Alright guys, so those are my 5 top production tips. Remember, these are just tips that work for me, but everyone is different. Bruce Lee once said, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. So take what works for you, and I hope it helps you write some great music. Alright guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know if you have any of your own important tips that you feel like I've left out. I'd love to hear them, because there's always something new to learn from no matter who it is. Yeah, thanks for tuning in guys. Peace, take it easy.